let me tell you this, guys. This is a pretty special training, number one, because there's only two of you on today, which is really cool, actually, because we can really kind of customize it to what you guys need. But I do have a plan and an agenda to go through a specific training with you. If there's anything that you feel at any point you want to just kind of jump in, just do that, because it's a small group and Todd and I are here to kind of navigate you through and teach you a little bit about Sandler training. You guys excited for this? This is it have you ever been through Sandler before?
Nope, this is first time.
First time. Okay, cool. Have you guys ever been through a training before for sales?
No.
No.
Never.
No.
Oh, wow. All right,
my
cool.
first experience.
Nice. Okay, Todd, what were you going to say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you actually stole the words out of my mouth. So
Okay.
Just really quick, are you both from the same company or different companies? Yes.
Yeah, we both deal with a lot with transactional sales, and we work for the Oxford Club.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long have you been in sales?
With this particular job, this is going into our 3rd month.
Okay. How about previously?
Previously, all in all, I probably have a little under a year of total sales experience.
Okay. Alexandra?
Previously, I probably have. Oh, that's a hard question.
Hey, you're a
Like
little bit older.
7 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And what were you selling previously?
So I was previously selling high-end jewelry for a private jewelry store.
Nice.
And then, I part-time work at a gym. So I am a part-time personal trainer. So I have to sell myself and sell the training memberships. And then I also work at a tanning salon. So selling memberships, lotions, upselling there.
Okay. Perfect.
You got it all covered. They go and they make their bodies look beautiful, and then they go and tan them up. Well, I love it.
I'm just a workaholic. That's all.
That's cool. All right. Well, Nick, Nick has not much experience, but I love that you guys are really kind of attending a training for the first time. I love that. Just so give you a little background on myself. Again, my name is Joe Marchese. It's up on the screen. This is my 3rd. All right. So I started 30 years ago in the world of face-to-face selling, sitting in front of a customer and trying to close them. So, I started when I was 1. If anyone has any questions about my age, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so it's been 30 years that I've been doing this. Todd is probably right there with me. He's probably 30 years into sales. So you guys have a wealth of knowledge on the phone to help you and guide you. But we're going to guide you through this training today. Basically what today is all about, it's an introduction to Sandler. There are steps of the system that we're going to go through in depth with you. But today I'm going to do like a high level. I just want to give you guys an introduction to the training so you can get an idea what you're going to experience going through this. And it's going to be a lot of fun. One of the things that I start off by saying to everyone is have a notepad next to you, because I'm going to give you some golden nuggets. Todd is going to give you some golden nuggets, and we're going to be able to articulate them to where you're going to say, oh, I want to write that down because I want to remember that one. That one sounds like that fits in my repertoire, right? All right, so I'm going to jump in and get started. Todd, is there anything else you want to say before we start the training?
Nope. I'm just turned off my cameras to help with the bandwidth.
Okay.
Just an upfront contract. We had some internet issues this morning.
Yes.
And so Joe was working off a hotspot. So I'm here. If he falls off, or if you guys start having connectivity issues, raise your hand, speak up, say, Joe, you're going garbled, and I can jump in. But I'm, upfront contract, typically, honestly, Joe didn't sell enough to pay his internet bill.
That's not true. Shut up. All right. Let's get started. All right, team. So the mindset is where it all begins, is your mindset. Okay. the mindset of a participant in training when it comes to people in our line of work, right? Sales, okay? We feel every minute we waste is money out of our pocket. Taking time out of our day for training team can be challenging. We know that, okay? I'm going to explain it to you using what I call the 3 A's: annoyed, absent, and absorb, okay? We feel annoyed that we're being asked to take a training course. We say, I don't need this. I've been in sales. I got this. Now, that's not your guys' case, but a lot of salespeople say, I've been doing this my whole life. Just let me go sell, right? And they half-heartedly take the course. They're not engaged, or they barely or ever participate. Or you're on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, and you're physically on the call, but your mind is absent. But here's how I want you to approach this training from today all the way to the end, and really any training you guys go through in your life. Absorb as much as you can. In a sales role, we can never think we know everything. If we take some time, we read some books, we watch some sales videos, we attend trainings like we're doing today, we're bound to learn something new. I try to learn something new every single day. Todd tries to learn something new every single day. This world of sales, team, is changing every single day. As you can see what we just went through with COVID, and things are changing, right? And if you don't have an open mind to absorb as much information as you can, you're going to find yourself struggling to make that excellent money. Be engaged, be vocal, and have an open mind on this training. I promise you're not going to regret it. Todd and I, we put on a good show. Will the examples that we give you in the training always correlate directly to your business? No. But every concept we talk about can practically be used and understood for each business that you guys are in your lives, whether it be the tanning salon, whether it be the gym, whether it be anything else you do. These concepts are going to ring true, and you can use them with all of your clients. Take notes, and I know you're going to learn something new today. All right. So with that being said, I want to welcome you guys to this class. It is called the Sandler Academy Training. How many of you, from both of you on the call, have you ever tried to put something together without an instruction manual? Quick hand up. Okay. We've all done it. At the end of Sales Academy, you understand the entire Sandler system, so you're set up for success and taught a process, just like instructions, which is designed to help you close business better or easier, okay? So you get really good at a systematic selling program, but in a fun way that gives you tangible, actionable results. It's not just a selling system, it's also a communication system. All right. So I'm going to give you some, let me set some expectations for the call real quick before I jump into anything else. So I want you guys to use the chat box. Now, there's only 2 of you on the call, so whenever, just interrupt, let me know. Don't hold back. If you have any questions, I want you to say, Joe, I don't understand. Todd, I don't understand. Can you re-go over that? And that's fine with us. We love that. Keep your cameras on, obviously. I like to see you, unless you have an emergency or have to run to the restroom or something, that's fine. Engage and ask as many questions. Be ready to be called on. Todd and I call on you throughout the training to say, hey, what do you think about that concept or whatever, right? Your names are on the screen. I don't need to worry about that. You're going to be going through 8 sessions of this. So it's on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 10. So 9 to 10:30. So make sure you block your calendars so you guys know that it's coming up. Okay. Now, there are a plethora of trainers in Newberger and Company. I'm Joe Marchese. You just met Todd Gabeline on the call. We have Mark. We have Doug. Those are 2 other trainers that you will be exposed to throughout this process. We all don't look and sound the same. I'm the best looking of the group, just so everyone knows. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you a quick little story about me. So 30 years ago, I started with a big company as a salesperson. All right, I don't know, I was like 18 years old at the time. They told me, this is 30 years ago, that their proven selling system is to simply generate interest. All right, Joe, go out and generate interest in what you're selling. I don't know, on like my second day, I asked my manager, so Mr. Manager, when does my official training start? He said, sit down, Green Pea. Your official training starts right now. He told me, Joe, it's simple. Become their friend. Talk about sports, talk about family, ask some questions to understand their needs, then present some features and benefits that meet those needs. Oh, by the way, Joe, here's a pile of brochures for you so you can reference them. Give them a value-added solution from that brochure and simply close the deal. If they say no, don't waste your time, move on to the next one. You got a quota to hit, man. That's what he would tell me. That's the traditional selling system from years ago. I did it. I did it throughout my young career. Now, through most of my interactions, whether I closed that customer or not, I'm thinking, hey, I generated interest. I'm doing exactly what I was taught. But in reality, team, the buyer was misleading me 90% of the time about their interest, because if they didn't know me and I looked, smelled, sound like the stereotypical salesperson, they didn't trust me. And while I'm doing the traditional dog and pony show, the buyer's getting what we call, write this down, unpaid consulting. Unpaid consultants, right? You'll hear from the customer will say, oh, tell me more about that. Oh, hold on, let me jot that down. And while I'm trying to do my best to close them for a commitment to the sale, the buyers are being nice and they're saying, Joe, great presentation. I'm going to give you a call. But in reality, and do you guys hear that on your phone a lot? Hey, great, I'm going to give you guys a call. Let me think about it. Right? Do you hear that a lot? Just give me a quick raise of hand, right? You guys hear that all the time, right? They are misleading you about the next steps at times. And there were times where now that customer goes into hiding. It's like they're in the witness protection program. You'll never hear from them again. I'm spending time when I was young on my calendar chasing. We called it follow-up because I didn't want my feelings to get hurt. But in reality, I was chasing. Now, believe it or not, this is the traditional sales approach, and that approach still exists. All right. We call what I'm going to tell you now, and I want you to write this down. You need what's called a pattern interrupt. Pattern interrupt. All right. It's exactly what your buyer needs and what they're looking for. The Sandler process that you're about to embark on is that pattern interrupt. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take you through the 7 steps of the Sandler Submarine, high level today. I'm not going to dive into each one. I'm just going to give you examples and talk to you about each one so you understand what your process is going to be. I want to share with you what we believe as a company and Sandler to be a proven sales process. All right. And these are going to be critical factors for you, and they're critical success factors for you to absorb and start to do every single day. But first, as with any new information, your brain is going to go through a few stages. Let me explain that real quick. So there are 4 stages you'll go through as you learn a new selling system. Stage 1, it's like you got a new toy. Okay, it's like you go out, you buy a new car, you buy whatever it is that you guys buy, and we're going to share things with you that you've never done before. You're going to become really excited to use them, but you're going to be excited because it's like a new thing that you just purchased. And you're going to say, oh, I really want to, absorb this, and I want to play with my new toy, right? Then you're going to go through what we call stage 2. It's disillusionment. You're going to try some of these things out in the field, and you're going to become frustrated with some of the concepts or your results that you get. And you're going to resort back to the old way of doing it because that's your comfort zone. Okay. Then there's stage 3. You're going to say, okay, hold on a second. I'm going to use this sometimes. You worked hard to get out of disillusionment, but you haven't learned the whole system yet. So in the middle of the Sandler Submarine process, you're going to try using some of these steps, and you might fail at that because you don't know how to continue that process. That is that variable use step. And then finally, stage 4, you're going to get to a point where we call it the peak performer. All right. You're going to become a professional salesperson. Something changes in you. You've internalized all the concepts. You understand and you use it regularly every single day. Now, you don't have to write this one down, but remember this saying throughout the whole process. Sometimes I might fail to use the system, but I know if I use the system, it won't fail me. You have to remember that sentence. If you want to write it down, I'll say it again. Sometimes I might fail to use the system, but I know if I use the system, it won't fail me. All right. Each one of these stages, team, is progress in learning how to be a professional salesperson. Make sense to everyone? Any questions at this point? You guys are good? Okay. All right. So I want you guys to make a promise to me. I want you to call us out when you disagree with anything we said. In the early stages of disillusionment, which I just spoke about, where you hear something and you disagree with it, we want to hear your disagreement, because that's where the learning happens, okay? Understanding and challenging each other will be the best way to learn throughout the next 8 sessions that you guys have, all right? Rather than being in a training session, I want you guys to walk away saying, I want you to walk away feeling like you understand the concepts, and I want you interacting with each other even after the fact. Now, are you guys exposed to each other after? Like, do you guys see each other in the office? Do you work with each other on a daily basis?
Yeah,
Yes?
Alex and I talk and work together every day, essentially.
Okay, awesome. All right. So, are you all of you in agreement with me to disagree with us? Yes? Okay, cool. Let's see. I want you to think about us as a mentor, not just a trainer. That's important. All of your trainers are going to be mentors throughout your process here. If we can challenge each other here, you're definitely going to learn. All right. So let's jump in. Today's an overview of the Sandler system. It's right up on your screen. Okay. Now, you guys are going to get some information after the training, where you may have received already, with a picture of the submarine. Those are the stages of the Sandler submarine. You guys are right now, you guys are right in before bonding and rapport. This is just an introduction for you today, so you understand your first class is going to be on bonding and rapport, okay? The Sandler system is designed to give you a step-by-step approach to accomplish a sale, all while maintaining control and not falling victim to roadblocks or challenges that a customer or prospect presents to us, okay? So I don't know if you want to take a picture of the screen. That's up to you guys, just to remember the Sandler submarine process, but it's right there in front of you if you're looking for it. All right, the selling process, team, can be challenging. We know that, especially when a salesperson doesn't fully understand what path to take to develop a relationship between buyers and sellers, okay? That's the key to the whole thing, is developing a relationship. How many of you have a step-by-step process in place that you use right now? Raise of hand. Nothing. Okay, so you guys are basically getting the phone calls from your current customers, and your deal is to upsell them your products and services, correct? That's what you guys do. You're
Nick
dealing with
hand. Nick raised his hand. Nick, what's your process?
We either get a call and we can close the sale right there, or the other option is if it seems like we can possibly upsell to them, then we would kind of do like a little upsell pitch and then transfer the call over to a senior account executive to then close the sale.
Okay, so you have a systematic process when it comes to, if a customer calls, where they go next.
By my process, I'm meaning like as I'm talking with the customer, I'm then internally having information to use, like, okay, is this somebody that I can upsell, or is this somebody I can close now, or is this somebody this is not going to benefit them at all and I should close it? Like, theoretically, you should know if you're going to get the sale within the first 30 seconds to a minute of talking with the guy. But
okay. Now, do you have like scripts that you use? Do you have like certain questions you ask? Anything like that in place? Okay.
I mean, there's
So-
definitely certain questions that you ask, but we've been taught to kind of generally avoid like a straight up script, because then you kind of seem robotic when you're speaking with the customer. And
Sure.
especially if, let's say, they ask you a question that's like not in the script, it's really going to make you be thrown off.
Throw you off. Yeah. So I'll give you a little bit of advice on that. So I'm obviously never going to go against what your manager wants you to do, but I am going to give you some advice on a different level. So if there are any type of scripts that are available to you, it's really just practicing them and knowing when to use them is all it is. Nobody wants you to pick up a script and say, "Hello, Mr. Customer. Thank you for calling today. We are excited." Nobody wants you to do that, right? But what they want you to do is read what you should be saying and get really good at it, so that when a customer does call, you can insert what you've learned from that script and walk them down a path. Now, you're gonna get some scripts through us throughout the process. Again, I'm not saying to use them verbatim. I'm saying to use them in a systematic approach of saying, hey, this makes sense for me. If a customer says that to me on the phone, I'm going to use this script outline and really kind of checkbox what I want to say. That's all. So that's the big misconception that I have found over the years. And I have trained companies like United Rentals, Cintas organization, big billion-dollar companies. And let me tell you, they use scripts, but don't use them verbatim. They just know what the script says and it leads them down the right path. So no misconception here. Just, I just want to let you know how a script should be used, and then you decide, and you and your manager can decide together if you're going to use them. Make sense? Yeah. All right. So as you can see from the screen, any salesperson can take a million different roads to get to that sale, but they want to make sure that there's a direct path to the result that they're looking for. Okay. So today, we're going to just help you understand a little bit more about a traditional strategy used by salespeople, that old way of doing things. I want to make sure we kind of drive that home today, because I need you to know that there's a difference. So you could say, oh, wait, that's an old way. Let me make sure that my mind is open to a new way. All right. Understanding the strategy used by a buyer to control the process. How many of you on the call have felt like the buyer or the person on the call was really controlling the sale? Both of you, right? Where they're like, all right, let me explain to you what I want to get done today. That's them being in control. We need to try to mitigate that, and we're going to show you ways to do that. You're going to learn the Sandler selling system methodology and its individual steps, and we're going to define the Sandler philosophy for developing a sales opportunity. Okay. What are some of the experience you have now? I want you to think about this for a second. This is going to be a little group exercise. What are some of the experiences that's holding you back? And Todd, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, to just jot down some of their answers.
You cut out.
What are some of the
roadblocks? That?
Yes. Did you lose me?
Yeah, just for like a hot
sec.
Could you just repeat that?
Yes.
The last,
what are some of the
seconds?
Sure. What are some of the experiences you're dealing with now that are holding you back when you're taking a call from your existing customer right now? What are some of the roadblocks you're dealing with now?
Alex, you want to go?
I mean, people just from the gate saying that they don't have the money to spend, even though they've already spent plenty of money. So we know they have it. They just don't want to spend it.
Okay. So you know that they're a client that could afford what you're offering, but they're not biting the bait. Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
I guess another rebuttal would be like the timing of it, whether it's like we'll call and they have to go talk it over with their wife, or maybe, try again like next month, like after maybe they have a paycheck coming up or something. It's just the timing of it isn't right.
Okay. So timing, number one, is one of the things you guys do. What else?
There's a big issue with customers at this point just being annoyed by the amount of emails and information they're getting from marketing, which makes our job 3 times harder because they're just so turned off by the time we get them on the phone that they don't want to hear anything about anything because they've already turned off all their emails or unsubscribed or whatever it might be.
Okay, so they're annoyed at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, so help me understand. I have a conflicting thing in my mind because from what I understand, the customer calls into you, correct?
Or we'll call and reach out.
Right. We do a lot of outbound.
You do a lot of outbound. Okay.
Yeah.
That was where my confusion was because I thought
Yeah.
you guys are just taking leads of phone calls of people calling in saying, hey, I'm interested in something. Okay. So
Yeah.
there is,
It's not cold calling either. It's like these were the people that we do. It's about half inbound, half outbound. And the outbound calls would be like, these people already have a certain number of services with us. And we're basically just trying to get them to upgrade on their services.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So would you say those are the major roadblocks you deal with when it comes to closing a customer? The what you guys just said? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want you to answer this question for me then. And Todd's going to write down your answers for me. And I want you to think about this for a second. Don't just give me your first answer, but think about it for a second. I could sell more if only I could. What? I could sell more if only I could what? Think about that for a second. I could sell more if only I could.
If only I could get them to truly see the value of the product.
Love it. Truly see the value. Todd wrote that down, I'm sure. What else, Nick?
2 things came to mind for me. The first thing that came to mind was if I could have more time, meaning like either time in the day or time with the customer. And
Okay.
then the second thing, if I could be more determined / focused.
Okay. So the 3 answers I have are, I could sell more if only I had more time. I could sell more if I was more focused. And then Alexandra said I could sell more if only you had what? Say that one more time for me.
If only I could truly show them the value of the
Show them the
product
value.
or articulate the value of the product.
Awesome. All right. I want you guys to keep those 3 things in your mind because over the next 7 or 8 sessions you go through with us, we're going to answer those questions. Might not be today, and that's okay because there are certain areas of the submarine that might tackle what you're talking about right now. But I want you to always write that down, keep that on the top of your notes list. And then while you're going through all these trainings, whether it be with me or any other trainer, check it off at one point and say, that's how to handle that. And then raise your hand and say, Joe, or whoever's on the call, I just figured out if I could sell more, if only I could, you just help me walk me through that because we want to make sure we answer those questions, but I want you to make sure that you call us out on that. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So kind of rhetorical question, but are you tired of chasing prospects that aren't going to return your phone calls? Are you tired of dealing with prospects who pick your brain for ideas? Remember free consulting? Wasting time with what we call in the Sandler world, suspects who initially look interested, but really were far from it. Making presentations to people who can't or won't make decisions. Let's see, what you're giving them, the information you're giving them is being used as like a bargaining chip for negotiation on something. Arm wrestling over price with prospects who told you that the price was no problem. Handling one stall or objection only to have another emerge almost immediately. Having to work so hard to get the prospects to make commitments. Feeling frustrated because you can't get your prospects to keep the commitments you finally got them to make. And lastly, consistently looking for new ways to find prospects, or in your cases, call the right people and not have to do a bunch of cold call, right? Stop doing it because you don't have to do it. Are you ready to take control of the sales process? Learn how to qualify your prospects to sell more and sell more easily, close more sales quickly, profitably. And you know what, team? The most important one is to have fun in your sales career and be treated like a professional. You guys all ready for that? That's what I'm talking about, right? So what are some words I want to peel the onion back for a second, because we have to learn a little bit about what people think of us first, okay? So what are some of the words that describe a salesperson? Tell me what you think some of the words are that describe a salesperson.
Sleazy.
Sleazy, right? What else?
Pushy.
Pushy. What else?
Aggressive, determined.
Aggressive, determined. Yep. Those could be not a bad thing if they're done correctly, but we are looked at like that, right? What else? Oh, they play golf all the time. They're doing this. They're not concentrated on a sale. They're more interested in going to, I don't know, have a drink with a customer. I know you guys aren't in a position like that, but there's a lot of people that we train that are able to go out and wine and dine their customers, and they're thought of as like maybe that cash cow to go out and have a drink and a big steak or something. What else in your line of work do people think about salespeople? Yeah, I got a lot of good answers from you, but are there any others?
Definitely like people person. Generally, like I'd say more on the outgoing side of things. You got to be open to like talk with a bunch of people, you know?
Yep. Team, I'll tell you, this is from my heart. One thing I've learned over the years is I always put my focus on becoming a salesperson that was trustworthy, honest, and caring. And you know what? When I focused on those three words, I became more successful. Why do you think that is?
Because people value those qualities.
Correct. People value those qualities, and they want to work with people that are trustworthy, honest, and caring. But the reason why I asked you that question first is, what are some words that describe a salesperson? What's immediately happening in a person's head when they're trying to be sold something? Those words. Sleazy, aggressive, right? Because we're programmed that way from years of salespeople being horrible at their job. Okay, so you need to understand that that is the conception of the person you're speaking to when you're trying to sell them something. So your focus needs to be more on becoming that salesperson that, with my three words, trustworthy, honest, and caring. Because what comes from those three words, I'm going to give you this answer because not everyone grabs this right away, but what comes from those three words when a customer feels that from you? Trust. Trust is the number one thing that helps you in sales, is trust. How many of you, actually both of you on the call have probably never been in this situation before, but I've driven with salespeople all over the world. I'm excited to tell you that. All over the world I've driven with salespeople. And in so many cases, I've been in a sales situation where they go in, they sit down with the customer, they put their arm on the back of the chair and they say, "Hey, Mr. Customer, how's biz? Oh, I see that you're a fisherman. Oh, cool. Oh, did you see that game this weekend? Oh, I see your son plays football. So does mine." Salespeople right away think that that is the key to building rapport. Okay. Years ago, that was truer. It was truer. It wasn't 100% true, because trust is where it all begins. If you feel you can trust someone that's going to take your money, you're going to move forward with them. So keep those three words in your mind: trustworthy, honest, and caring. Every part of the submarine that you're going to go through, if you go into it with that thought process of those three words, you're going to have even more success than if you didn't use that thought process. Okay, make sense? All right. I want you to think about this for a second. I want you to think about going into a retail store. I'm going to drive this point home a little bit more. You go into a retail store, and I'm going to tell you a quick story. So my wife and I were buying some furniture recently. So the first thing the salesperson says when I walk into a furniture store is what? Simple. What do they say?
How are you doing today?
How you doing? What can I help you with today? Right? And what is the instinctual answer that is given immediately?
I'm just looking.
No, I don't need any help. I'm just looking. Thank you, though. Oh, give me your card. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, give me your card. I'll make sure I come see you when I'm ready. Okay? Now, that is a normal response from people trying to purchase something. No. I'm good. I don't need any help. I'll let you know when I'm ready. Guys, that's a complete lie. Why are we lying? Right? You're there for a reason. They're called for a reason. They've reached out to you for a reason or something specific. So why are we lying to them saying, no, can't help me right now. I'm just looking. Why are we lying? If you got help from that person, you probably would have found what you were looking for a lot faster, right? But because the salesperson did what they're expected to do, the customer immediately puts the wall up and says, oh, no, they want to sell me something. And they get misleading and they say, oh, I'll let you know. And they downplay their interest. Okay. What did I give you to write down before? A pattern what?
Pattern interrupt.
Pattern interrupt. What that pattern is that everyone is used to in this world right now is no, I don't want anything from you. I'll come to you when I'm ready. That's what they're programmed for. So we need to do what's called a pattern interrupt. You're trying to lead the conversation in what Sandler calls the buyer-seller dance. Write that down. Buyer-seller dance. Okay? I want to first share with you what's known to be true with most salespeople today. Most roadblocks we deal with, team, has evolved from interactions that the prospect or even you have had in past experiences, just like the furniture store, right? Not necessarily much about your products or services. It's about how your product or service is presented. If you're like most people, you have a strategy or a systematic approach in place to control a meeting. Your approach will usually start with what we call a needs analysis and eventually lead to a presentation. That's kind of the old school way of doing it. Now, your prospect team, just like me as the shopper, also has a strategy in place to deal with people like us in sales to maintain control. Now, the buyer-seller dance, whether you make the sale at the end or not, is ultimately decided by who leads that dance. If you lead, most often you close the sale. Unfortunately, there are times when a prospect who leads the dance, it's unfortunate that most of the time a prospect will lead the dance and you're the one following them. There are also times when the prospect is in control and we feel like, hey, the sale's in the bag, right? Have you guys been there where they're talking and they're saying, hey, I need this, I need that. And you guys are like, oh, this is like a done deal sale. But at the end, you're left standing there alone on the dance floor, right? I'm sure if you take a minute and think back when you were engaged in the buyer-seller dance at the time, you thought you were leading the dance. Everything seemed to be going as planned, but at the end, you didn't close because you realized the prospect was leading. Happens to all of us. Okay. So remember the buyer-seller dance. You have a plan, team, your person you're trying to sell has a plan too. We need to understand that to be able to get past it. Make sense? Okay. Take a second, and you don't have to enter it in chat. There's only two of you on the call right now, but take a second. What do you think? And I want you to think about this again for a second. This is a deep thought one. what are some of the warning signs that you can look for that are indicating you're not in control of a meeting or not leading a dance in your business? After what I just showed you and reviewed with you, what can you identify in knowing you're not in control? What are some of the key words a person will say for you to get that and say, hey, I'm not in control of the sale? Because we have to understand what that is to identify.
If they're interrupting you, so like if you're explaining something and then they chime in and they kind of throw you off to ask like a side question or something.
Okay.
I guess it shows that they're more in control. Or in general, the first thing I thought of is like, if let's say you call them up and they lead off with saying like, I only have a couple minutes to chat right now. Like they immediately add a sense of urgency with you kind of getting off your pitch, essentially.
Yep. Yep.
It definitely puts them in the driver's seat.
Nick, great job. That's the first step in identifying that. Because how many salespeople never identify that and continue the dog and pony show? But they're not getting the key indicator from that customer that they're trying to take control of the dance. So good job. Now, Alexandra, what do you have? And Alexandra, bring it in any job that you have. Think about it. It doesn't have to just be the Oxford Club. I want you to think about it in all of your jobs because you're selling a lot of people throughout the day. How do you know when they're in control?
I'll just throw it back to jewelry. When you pull something out that's exactly in the price range they asked for, exactly the cut, clarity, color they asked for of the diamond, you show it to them and they go, that's not really what I was thinking. That's not really what I was looking for. They're just running me around at that point. Like I can't do anything because they're never going to bite, no matter if I show them exactly what they want or not.
You're learning to identify it. That's the first step. And as salespeople, we have it in our gut, right? You feel it in your stomach. All of a sudden, when you start to get that vibe from that customer, you're saying to yourself, they're trying to take control of this conversation. And now our mindset changes. We get negative, and all of a sudden we go down a wrong road. It can be very disengaging, but guess what? That was their plan. Okay. Their plan was to do that to you. So they feel off the hook at that moment in time. So your plan needs to be in place to be bulletproof to that. You're going to learn that in the next 7 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever it is, of your training. So if that's something that really interests you guys, write that down and make sure you let us know when we taught that to you. So you can say, hey, I got that. Love it. All right. All right, let's face it, buyers and sellers play the game of the sale by a different set of rules, like we just said. And the competition for control, in that competition for control, only one will prevail. And in a lot of cases, everyone always says to me, Joe, I know if I go after 10 deals, I may sell 1 or 2. Well, guess what? They're setting themselves up to know that 9 or 8 of those prospects are going to take control of the sale. They're not bulletproofing themselves to that. So what are the buyer's rules to the game? I'm going to teach you some so you can now look for more. So the buyer has rules to the game when they're trying to buy something. Play, and this is Sandler terminology, so if you want to write this down, this is fine. Play your cards close to the vest. That is what a buyer will do. What does that mean to you guys? Hold your cards close to the vest.
It means they don't want to unveil too much because then they won't have any bargaining chips at the end of it.
Right? If they give you too much information, you might sell them. So they're keeping their cards close. They're going, oh, okay, yeah, I'm interested. Let's talk more. And their cards are right here. They're not showing you anything. Okay? Here's another one. Obtain all information that they can. That's what we call, and you guys wrote this down, free consulting. Why are they trying to obtain all the information they possibly can from you?
To remove your cards.
Yep. What else?
To see if they can find the same product somewhere else for less.
Yes. One last thing. Think about it for a second. They're trying to get all this information for you. So when they go sit in front of another salesperson,
They can compare you to them.
they can get themselves educated and sound even more professional to the next person. Okay. So they're gonna learn. Listen, we do it every day. I'm dealing with it right now. I need a heating system in my house. I've had 4 people come and give me a quote. The first 3 people, I tried to get as much free consulting as I possibly could from them. Why? Because I knew nothing about a heating system. So I need now by the fourth guy, I'm using terminology and he's like, oh shit, this guy knows what he's talking about. Sorry, excuse me. But he's saying, oh my God, this guy knows what he's talking about. And guess what? On that final one, I felt like I was in more control. So basically, as a buyer, you could do this all the time as well. Once you learn these skills, you're going to become a better buyer too. But you have to know how to identify these things and know what they're called so you can do them as well, right? And then the number 3 on the list there is they don't commit to anything. And that kind of goes with the story I just told you. The first 3 guys that were sitting here in my office were looking for me to commit, and I wasn't going to commit to anything because I was still in my learning process, right? Did I lose you guys?
No,
you're
you're
good.
good.
Okay, good. When I say I lost you, I'm talking about internet because mine just flashed a little bit. All right. And then the last one is disappear. They go into the witness protection program, right? They got all their information from you. Now you never hear from them again. The first 3 guys that came to my house have not heard from me ever again. I used my process, right, to get what I wanted. I did the buyer seller dance and I learned and said, I'm going to do as much as I can to be the buyer here. And I use all my tools. Okay. Now, rule number 1 and rule number 2, prospects have learned how to appear interested and motivated without revealing too much information. They anticipate having a meeting, right? Gather as much information as they can, and they return on a later date with a proposal. They're in control. Okay. Rule number 3, just to sum these up, prospects will use various stalls and objections to fend off your attempts to close the sale. I have to get this approved, just like you guys said. I got to check with my, you guys deal with an older clientele, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're dealing with the older person that has to check with maybe their son or daughter, or check, so you're dealing with that all the time. Or I got to meet with a few other people. I need time to digest, right? Especially the older people. Oh, I'm not going to rush. Let me just think about this for a while, right? Meanwhile, they're one of the most savviest buyers on the market because of their experiences over the years. Okay. You guys are hearing me, right? Because I'm getting an echo.
I'm hearing an echo too.
You're good. Oh, I don't
Okay.
hear an echo.
Okay.
It's coming
If you
from
guys
you,
could
Alex.
just go on mute unless we're talking, that would help. That would be great. All right. So then number 4, again, is after you meet, they disappear and become non-responsive. So, so you move on. Then there's the seller's rules for the game. These are your rules now to be a seller. All right. So if we look at them, you're honest, you're helpful, and trying to develop trust. We provide information and try to demonstrate value. All through your attitude was positive, enthusiastic, and at the end we do the best we can to follow up and follow through. That's the buyer seller dance. Okay, but the number 1 rule with all of that is no free consulting, team. If you can learn to not give free consulting during the dance, you're going to get further and to the next step quicker. All right, here's something I want you to start thinking about, and you try and you do a good job, analyze the prospect situation. Let me just see. I think I messed up on my click here. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. You try to do a good job and analyze the prospect situation. You present an effective approach and give them lots of great information to achieve their desired outcome. Then they disappear, never to be found again, like we said a million times already. We've all been there. Can you really call that interaction with a prospect anything other than free consulting? Think about that. Now that I've given you that 1 rule of free consulting, a lot of your conversations, do you think back and say, wow, that's what I've been doing a lot of? Raise a hand. Yeah. Lots of information that you're giving them. All right. No free consulting. So now that we reviewed the traditional dance, let's put some of the pieces together. So look at the slide real quick. I just have to move you guys on my screen because I can't see the slide as well. Okay. So again, to drive this home, there's your traditional strategy. The customer appears interested. You perform the needs analysis. The customer acts motivated. You deliver your presentation, right? They obtain their information. You attempt to close the sale, right? They avoid commitment and stalls or objections. You overcome the stall and objection, and then they delay further, and then they disappear, and all you're doing is follow up. Does that sound like what's happening, that traditional strategy? That's what's happening out there. You need to be able to identify the incorrect to do the correct. That's why I'm driving this home. I know it sounds a little repetitive at some points, but I want you to take this home with you and say, if I continue to do this traditional strategy, I'm going to be in trouble. Okay. When this strategy is used, the prospect needs are met and the salesperson is not. Their needs are not met. Okay. Prospects have been playing the sales game by their rules for a very long time. Like I said, and you're dealing with all the people that have been doing it for a very long time. So if you're uncomfortable with the results that you've been getting, you have to make a change, team, right? Until you learn to break this pattern, the buyer is always going to lead the dance. Here's a quick quote, and I want you to write this quote down, and I'm going to say it slowly. I'm going to say it fast first, then I'll say it slowly. You can't do what you've always done because you'll always get what you've always got. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, but I'm going to say it again. You can't do what you've always done because you'll always get what you've always got. Does that make sense? Can't hear you, Nick.
I don't understand that at all.
Okay. Good. Thank you for challenging that. I appreciate that. So I'm going to take it by each sentence. You can't do what you've always done. So if you're not successful right now and you continue to do that, what is the result going to be? Not being successful.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the next sentence. Because you'll always get what you've always got in the past. Does that make sense? Did I lose you again, Nick?
Yeah, you got me. All right.
Okay, so I got you. So that's all I'm saying. I know it's a tongue twister, but it's a Sandler sentence, and I need to train it to you. But in layman's terms, if you continue to do what you always do, you're always going to get the results you get. If you change your results, there is a chance your results will be more positive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I have to put it in Sandler language because that's Sandler, but I'll bring it home in a different way. All right, so I'm going to jump into some quick dance lessons. We're doing great on time, so we might even end a hair early, so just keep that in mind. All right, so the Sandler philosophy, let's start off with it. I want you guys to take each of you take a turn and read each sentence on here. So Nick, you go first.
Salespeople are professionals.
Good. Alexandra, next.
The prospect must qualify for the professional's time and efforts.
Okay, that's an important one right there. The customer has to qualify for your time. And you need to be okay to say, we're not going to get anywhere here. I'm not going to go after this customer. It's okay, because if you start to weed them out, you're going to have more success with the people you do deal with. Okay. Nick, next one.
Some prospects won't qualify.
Some people are just not going to be, you're not going to make that sale. And that's okay to know. A lot of salespeople think, I got to sell everyone. Well, no, you don't, because not everyone is going to be a fit for you. Right? Next one.
Developing opportunities must serve both parties' best interest.
Okay. Now, think about that for a second. Developing opportunities. How do you guys develop opportunities in your business right now? You make phone calls, right?
Yeah. Emails, phone calls.
But when you do that, do you know who you're calling? Do you know who you're emailing? Do you know what their intentions are? Is there a way to find out what that is?
Yeah, after speaking with them.
Okay. And that's okay. Sometimes that's the process. Once you speak with them, you get an idea where they're at. Now you need to categorize them in lists of people to definitely call back. Maybe there was something there, or bye-bye, not interested at all. That will help you narrow down your marketing, your prospecting efforts. So think about that. When you're making all these calls and you have a list in front of you, you're going to have to categorize those people. Do like an A, B, and C list. A, I'm calling. B, good try to call. And C, they're off my list, because you got to weed it out. Okay. What's the next one?
Wishing and hoping is not part of the business development process.
Got to remember that as a salesperson. I'm hoping to hit my goals this year. Not a good statement, right? You don't want to wish and hope. It's not part of a business development process. You have to put goals down, say you're going to hit them, check in on them every week, check in on them every month, and look yourself in the mirror every day and say, am I doing everything I need to do to hit that goal? You want to get wishing and hoping out of your vocabulary. Okay. And last one.
There should be a start and finish to every selling opportunity.
What does that mean to you guys? Because that's a confusing one, and I want to dig a little deeper into that.
I guess I interpret that as, I think you owe it to yourself to see through kind of the opportunity, whether it doesn't work out or whether it does. You should see it to the end.
Good. I like that. What does that mean to you, Alexander?
You got to start from basically that lead coming in. Let's just say you have to go through every step that the prospect allows you to go through before deciding whether it's a closed sale or a hard no.
Okay. So good job to both of you. Okay. Keep this in mind. You're being taught a system. If you start that system, and Alexandra, great point. You got to go as far as that customer allows you to go to know that you did everything you could to win that business. But there are too many people that just do, what did we call it in the beginning of the training? There were 4 steps. There's disillusionment. Right? Too many people pick and choose what they want to use and don't go through the process from beginning to end. One thing I've always taught my salespeople, okay, and I'm an author of a book on the market, and in my book, I talk about how that process needs to be even in front of you. Like when I was out in the truck and I was dealing with customers, I would jot down on my notepad everything I wanted to achieve in that meeting. And then when I sat down and put it on the counter, and I started with, I call the upfront contract, which so does Sandler, but you're going to learn about that soon. I went through my agenda, and then I went through my list of things that I want to go, obviously appropriately within the conversation. I didn't sit there and go, check, check, check. Okay, now you can talk, right? I just knew there were certain things I wanted to get through in that process. And I gave myself the chance to do it every single time. And I had more success because I followed the system. I had you guys write something down about the system failing you. What was that quote I had you guys write down? Nick's like, oh, crap, I didn't write that one down.
Sometimes I might fail. Sometimes I might fail to use the system, but I know if I use the system, it won't fail me.
Period. Okay. That's driving that home. So keep that in mind. This is the Sandler philosophy of what you need to keep in your mind throughout all of your trainings coming up. All right. Let's keep rolling. So to help you with that, and I need to change this slide because I think it's an eye teaser, but I would like for you guys to read through each one of these. And sorry, it's only two of you on the call. Normally I have more and everyone gets a chance to read, but we're going to go back and forth. So this time, Alexandria, start with number one. These are things that are going to help you drive those philosophies home. So go ahead, Alexandria. First one.
Salespeople are professionals. Sales calls with prospects and customers should be considered a business meeting among equals, an honest, non-manipulative exchange of information.
Good job. Number two.
The
Nick.
prospect must qualify for the business professional's times and efforts, just as the prospect has criteria with which to decide from whom to buy. Sales professionals have criteria with which to decide where and with whom to invest their time.
Very good. And I want to drive something home with that. It's not always just about the customer, team. It's about you getting your needs met as well. You are in a professional business meeting. Both people have things that need to get done. It's not always like, oh, please give me this sale. Please, I have a quota to hit. No, it's not like that. And if your mindset is like that, no good. You have to say to yourself, I am a professional at what I do every single day. I have lots to offer my customer. And you know what? They're going to be, in front of me, and I'm going to exude that, and I'm going to make sure that they understand that, but it's done in a professional way. The Sandler system helps you do that. Okay. Number three.
Developing a business opportunity must be done in a systematic manner that serves the best interests of both parties. It must be repeatable and multipliable. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
No. It just caught me off guard. I was like, wait, does that say that?
So keywords there, repeatable and multipliable. What does that mean to you guys? Go ahead.
It happens a lot.
Yes, good. Anything else you want to add?
If we're doing something all the time,
Yes,
the system we're using should be the same every single time, just for that customer.
Correct.
Tier 2
Right?
customer.
You might have to alter it a little bit, but if you follow the process through, it's repeatable and it's multipliable. And I'm going to tell you this, practice, practice, practice. I used to come home at night and practice with my wife. Honey, I want you to be a customer and I want you to give me a really hard time. And I would practice with each other, practice with your managers, practice in sales meetings. Okay. Because you get really good at it and it becomes second nature. All right. Number four.
Some won't qualify for your time. Some prospects won't have strong enough reason to do business with you. Some won't pay your prices or fees. Some can't or won't make a decision in a reasonable manner or time frame for you to make it worth your while to pursue.
Right. Okay. So keep that in mind. Keep rolling. Number five, stalls and objections.
Stalls and objections should not be part of the selling process. It is the sales professional's responsibility to introduce early in the selling process the elements around which stalls and objections ultimately develop and eliminate them before they become roadblocks to completing a sale.
Let's talk about that one because that's a big one. Let me give you an example. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Alexander?
I was say, is that partially where pattern interrupt can come into play? Because if you're hearing them constantly say the same thing over and over again, that objection, you kind of interject there to break it down a little bit further to actually figure out what their objection is or why they have that objection.
Kinda.
Okay.
You're on the right track. But let me give you another example. How many times, which you guys deal with it all the time, how many times have they said to you, this is all great information. I need to get this in front of my husband, wife, child, whatever. So they say it all the time, right? And that's normally happens when?
Towards the end of the call.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Now, let me ask you this. If you started your phone call with what you're going to learn as an upfront contract, which I'm going to review with you in a second, but I'm not going to do a deep dive. You're going to have a whole class on it. But if you started the phone call out with saying something like, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, I'm going to review some things with you today on the phone. Is there anyone else that needs to be involved in this conversation now before I get involved or deep with this?
Okay.
Right? That
You're eliminating. Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Eliminate it. So at the end, the brick wall can't come up and they say, oh, I got to talk to my mom. I got to talk to my dad. I got whatever.
At the end, if they say, oh, I need to talk this over with my wife, you'd be like, well, sir, in the beginning, I asked if you needed to have her here. Yeah.
Right. In a professional way, right? You don't want to beat them up with it at the end.
No, I don't want to beat him over with, But
right.
like,
you don't want to beat him over that.
Immediately, though, that dismisses his objection, though.
Right. So another way to get around that, Nick, is in the upfront contract, which you're going to learn to do. You could even end the upfront contract with, I just want to be clear that there's really no one else that needs to be in the decision-making process of today's conversation. Nope, no one. Okay. Objection gone. Right. And that's only one objection that I'm teaching you how to handle. There's so many other ones that can be dealt with in the upfront contract. And when I keep saying upfront contract, that's what you sit down. That's your agenda for your phone call and what you're going to go through. Right now, you guys are taking calls and think about how they sound right now. It's very segmented, probably not very, I'm not putting down the way your company's doing it. I'm just saying in Sandler world, if I was to listen to one of your calls, I would say, wow, it's a little segmented. You're talking about this here, you're talking about this there, and now we're in the middle and oh my God, why'd you bring that up now? Right? So with the system you're going to learn, again, like I said, with the notepad or whatever, I used to go through my checklist and it was systematic. Okay. Number 6.
Controlling the selling process is a function of asking the appropriate questions at the appropriate time to the appropriate people and obtaining the prospect's commitment. Wishing and hoping is not a part of the process.
Exactly. Okay. We've already talked about that. Number 7.
There should be a start and finish to every selling opportunity, and the amount of time between those 2 points must enable the sales professional to reach company and personal goals. Sorry, this is in the way.
That's okay.
Pursuing an opportunity for however long it takes to eventually close it may feed your ego, but it won't help you feed your family.
Right. Okay. If you have a process in place, it should take a certain amount of time. Obviously, it's going to vary with questions and what you have to explain. But if you're on a call with someone for like an hour and a half and you know that you've sold people in 30 minutes, we're down the wrong rabbit hole, people, right? We need to realize that. So again, this session today is to lay a little bit of a foundation on what we can now build on with the Sandler process. So if you understand this thought process, and use this to build your house on the foundation of Sandler, you're going to do really well. Okay. All right, let's keep rolling. So here it is again. This is the 7-compartment Sandler Submarine, and it represents the selling system that I've been talking about and all the methodology around it. Now, as you know, bonding and rapport is the first thing that we're going to teach you. But what did I explain to you early in this call today? What is bonding and rapport built on?
Trust.
Thank you. Okay. Now, bonding and rapport, I want you to consider each one of these compartments in the submarine. You have to seal each compartment before you move to the next one, or else the submarine will sink. Okay. So each compartment has to be sealed. The only thing I will say, which goes against what I just said, is that bonding and rapport, I want you to think about as the skin of the whole process. Because if you lose trust at any point in this process, you're going to go down the wrong road. Okay. So always bonding and rapport, think about it as the skin of the whole submarine, and you have to maintain your trust throughout the whole process. And you will learn that in each segment. Okay. The first 2 compartments are bonding and rapport and upfront contract. You've heard me say the word upfront contract a little bit. They represent the foundational concepts on which the selling relationship is built and sustained. Okay. The pain, budget, and decision compartments represent the qualifying activities of the selling process. Don't worry if you don't understand my terminology right now. I just need to plant the seed in your mind. The two final compartments is fulfillment and post-sale, representing the closing activities of the process. Not all prospects, though, however, will make it past the pain, budget, and decision. They're not all of them are going to make it past that, because we're going to teach you a concept. It's called disqualifying. So they may not make it all past that point. A prospect can be disqualified at any step in this process. We teach you how to do that to get you through the process of the whole program, right? So building and sustaining a relationship is the foundation on which the business relationships are built. These processes continue throughout the selling process. Okay, I said process about 5 times there. I'll change it. So bonding and rapport. Let's talk about it. I'm just going to have a quick seat because we're almost done with the training, but I'm going to talk to you about these a little bit more. Bonding and rapport. Developing rapport and creating a bond with your prospect and eventually your clients, right? Because they're going to eventually be your client, requires the use of an effective communication skill, and it's called listening and speaking. All right, being sensitive to their preferences for interaction and understanding the dynamics of the interaction. Now, what does it mean when I say being sensitive to their preferences for interaction?
And do you just mean like being attentive to like what they're asking for?
Nope, but good try. But I want you to think about what I'm saying. You need to be sensitive to their preference for interaction.
Is that kind of, does that go into like their tone and their mannerisms on the call?
Yes, very good. You're going to learn in bonding and rapport to identify a person's preference of interaction. If they're on the phone, they're like, okay, my name's Joe Marchese, I want to get this done today. There's a certain way to deal with them. If they turn around and say, hi, my name's Joe Marchese, I'm interested in gathering some information today about what you guys, you're going to handle that differently. There's a preference, and you need to mirror their preference. If you go into it every single time with your preference, you could be turning off a lot of people. As a salesperson, we have to be chameleons, okay? We have to be able to change our color wasn't the right word, but change our preference of how we speak to customers to what their preference is. Because if we go in guns a-blazing and they don't prefer that type of communication, but they're ready to make a sale, guess what can happen? You can lose them pretty quickly. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. The next one is the upfront contract. As a strategy, an upfront contract represents a process of developing an agreement. I'm reading the definition to you guys because I have to, because it's the Sandler process, but then we're going to talk about it. Developing an agreement with your prospect or client about exactly what will take place in an upcoming event, whether it be a phone call, whether it be a meeting, whatever it is, you guys are always going to be phone calls. So there are no misunderstandings or unfulfilled expectations. So think about it like this, guys. When you get a call or you're making a call to someone, you have an agenda on what you would like to get done that day, correct? There are certain things you want to find out. There are certain things you want to convey to the customer. There are certain time frames that you want to spend on that call with them. Why wouldn't we let them know all that? I don't know why. Most salespeople, they don't know. They get on the phone, they have a list of things they want to go through, but they don't fill the customer in on it. They don't say, okay, Mr. Customer, this is exactly what I'd like to achieve today on this call. I'm going to start off by asking some questions. I'm going to see if there's anyone else involved in the decision-making process. Towards the end, I'm going to ask you to look up some data, whatever it might be. Let them know that, right? In the beginning of the call, just say, hey, this is what I want to achieve today. Oh, by the way, is there anyone else needed in the selection of your whatever you're buying today? Oh, okay, good. Let's move forward. Boom. Upfront contract sealed. Move on to the next. It's that simple. But it's so funny because I've ridden with salespeople all over the world and nobody sticks to a process. You will, and you will have success. All right. Next one is, oh wait, I had a couple of notes here on the upfront contract. So it's as a technique, the upfront contract is actually an agreement to which you and the prospect have agreed. So at the end of your upfront contract, you say, does that make sense? Are we all on the same page? Yes. Great. Seal the compartment. But if they turn around and say, nope, that's not at all why I'm calling today, great to know that now before you get into a big conversation with them. Make sense? Okay. Next, pain. You must determine if the prospect's pain can be solved with your product or service. At the same time, you must help the prospect discover the underlying or contributing reasons for the problem and come to a conclusion with your product or service that's most appropriate solution to address those. Okay, that was the definition. Now let's talk about it. Many salespeople, I got to stand again. I hate training from a CV. Many salespeople think that they have to show up and throw up, or Sandler terms, spill your candy in the lobby. Okay, which means you're going to go through everything you have to offer with that customer. Why? Why would you do that if you have no idea what they need yet? You're excited, okay? And you're going to learn about something called the dummy curve coming up. But in the dummy curve has a process in it, which in the beginning, you know nothing about your product. You're brand new. So you're kind of like a little bit, and in a Sandler term, so it's okay to say, you're kind of like a little bit of a dummy. And the customer's doing all the talking. And you're gathering all this information, and then you're going to say, hey, boss, I got a client on the phone. Help me, right? That's the first part of the dummy curve. And then the curve goes to the second part where you learn all about your products and services and all the problems it can help. Now, who's talking the most? In most cases, you, because you're so excited that you learned everything. I know everything about my products. Let me tell you all about it. Nate, we have a app. We could do this. We could do that. We're the best at this. We're the best at that. Now you're talking most. And then when you get to the end of the dummy curve, there's the professional. The professional knows when to shut up. They know when to speak, okay? There's one rule I want you to write down, and this is a Joe Marchese rule. This is not a Sandler rule. The person who talks the most during a sales meeting thinks it went the best. Who do you want to feel the meeting went best?
The customer.
Thank you. So who should be talking the most?
The customer.
Thank you. Okay, so keep that in mind. Let's move to budget. Budget is the second qualifying step in the Sandler selling system. You have to determine if the prospect is both, write this down, willing and able. You must determine if the prospect is both willing and able to make the appropriate investment to obtain your product or service. This is a simple one. I don't have to go too deep on this. You will learn this in budget. Willing and able is what it's all about. Is the customer willing and are they able? If one of those don't exist, you are not making a sale. They have to be willing and they have to be able. All right. Decision.
Back to the pain point. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. I moved on. Didn't ask.
With pain, is this where you're unveiling their pain points on what's holding them back, essentially? And
Yeah.
Budget would be you discussing the budget, the price, I assume?
Not yet. We're not talking about price yet. Even though budget may sound like this is where we talk about price, we have to work some things out before we give them a price, right? And the two things are they willing to make a change right now to fix the pain we just spoke about? And number two, are they able? If we don't find that out before we give the price, problem, because why would we give a price if we don't know if they're willing and able yet? It's going to scare them. So you must find out if they're willing and they're able before we talk about price. We're going to get to price, I promise. But right now we need to work some things out. Remember, I told you that this is a qualifying process. You're qualifying the person at this point, finding if they're willing and able to spend the money. No price.
Why title it budget then instead of qualify?
Well, because we have to find out about their budget. This is where it's important to find out about the budget because it's early in the process. If you find out that the person has zero money to spend way late in the game, it's a waste of time. Make sense, Nick? And challenge me if it doesn't.
I mean, I just, when I think of budget though, I'm thinking of like price, you know, but you want to find out like how much can you spend? The way you're sounding, it's more of you're qualifying them if they're even able to talk about budget.
Exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say. You have to find out if they're willing and able to even think about spending money at this point. We're not at the point I'm going to give you a price. You're at the point to find out if they have a budget for what you're trying to sell them. If they don't, why are we moving forward? Disqualify. Make sense?
Yeah.
Nick, thank you for challenging me. I appreciate that. And I think that that's important because if it's a roadblock in your mind right now, we need to overcome that. And I promise you, when you go through budget with me or anyone else, it will make more sense. Like I said, today we're just kind of laying that foundation, but I want to address it. Listen, I could go dig up Mr. Sandler.
Yeah, and in layman's terms, I'm just understanding it as qualify, disqualify, essentially.
That's fine if you want to call it that at this point, because that's really what it is. But keep this in mind. You need to know if they have money to spend, and that has to happen early in the process or you're going to waste your time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like me going into a Lamborghini dealership. Okay. I walk into I can't afford a Lamborghini, but I'm walking in going, what's up, man? Hey, can I look at that one right there? Let me figure out what we got. And I want the one with the convertible, and I want the automatic start on it. And the salesperson goes, great, cool, man. Hey, yeah, great. Oh, you want to buy this one? Great. Oh, you'll pay list price too? Awesome. And then I get into the finance office and they're like, you can't buy this. You don't make any money to buy this, right? So think about it that way. If the salesperson had some good questions and had a process to find out if my budget could support what I'm going to give you as a price, we would have cut out about a whole hour of a test drive and sitting with the finance guy and waiting for the credit to come back. Remember what I told you, your time is valuable as a salesperson. They must qualify to be with you. If they don't have a budget, you got to find that out early. Okay, so yeah, I get where you're coming from. It is confusing when you see budget, like, oh, cool, we're getting into price. Not yet. We have to find out if they're willing and able to make a purchase. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Decision is the third qualifying step in the Sandler system. You must determine the process by which the prospect will make his buying decision or her buying decision. Who, what, when, where, why, how, all those things, and decide if it's in your best interest to participate in that process. Closing the sale is where you will get a positive decision or a negative decision and discuss buyer remorse, future business and referrals. That's where all that is done. And I know that sounds a little confusing, but stick with me for a few minutes because it works together with fulfillment and post-sell, okay? Fulfillment is the show and tell aspect of the selling process where the prospect gets to see, hear, and experience your solution and to their problems, right? So this is where you do your presentation. During your presentation to demonstrate the goodness of fit, we'll call it, between their problem and your solution by revealing only those aspects of the solution that specifically address their problem. Remember, we said we don't want you to spill the candy or show up and throw up. Not yet. Well, never actually. You conclude the fulfillment step by obtaining the yes at this point from the prospect from the prospect, a decision to buy or move to the next step in the process. In this case, for a more complex decision, I'm confusing. I'm going to stop saying that right now. Let's just know that fulfillment is where we get our yes from the customer. Okay, they're ready to move forward. Post-sell. When you receive a positive buying decision to post-sell, they're ready to move forward. You've gone through all of the compartments with them. This step will ensure against what we call buyer's remorse. Do you guys know what that is?
Yeah.
That's where they say, oh my God, what did I do? Right? by bringing up potential problems that were hinted in or not resolved throughout the sale. You have the opportunity to deal with them before they become real problems. Think of this as diffusing the bomb before it blows. All right, discussing future business and potential, referrals and things of that nature also happen here as well. Make sense? So with all that in mind, team, everything I just said, I condensed it to a smaller process for you. So this is where it all begins. You guys are ready to embark on your training with us, but this one slide is where your whole Sandler process will be revealed to you. So like I said, either take a picture of this or whatever, so you have it in your phone to refer to. Successful salespeople know their sales process, okay? Otherwise, they would just be reacting to prospect all day long, and there's no process to that. Have goals for each of the submarine steps that we spoke about to ensure a higher success rate for closing each prospect that moves through the process. In the following lessons with us, you'll be taking a deeper dive into each step. So if anything didn't make sense to you today, you're gonna get a better, deeper dive in the next, 7-8 weeks. All right. So please keep that in mind. So that was the high level overview. And I know it was a fire hose of information. I just opened up the fire hose on you today, right? Think about what steps you need to work on the most and why. I kind of gave you a high level on each of them. Think of what you need to work on the most. Your next session, which is your first session of the system, will be bonding and rapport. Okay, so keep that in mind. Do you both have any questions at this point before we have you do a lessons learned, which is just something you have to fill out for us? And Todd, would you be able to put that in chat by any chance?
Is that what he just put in the chat?
Is that in there? You're the best, Todd. I'm going to take my big camera off and put you on my small camera. Hold on. So team, you're going to go through what's called a lessons learned, which is a small, let me just stop sharing and put on my other camera. So what you're going to do, team, is you're going to go through this lessons learned. It basically asks you who your trainer was. Your company might not be in there yet. So just put other if it's not, but it might very well be in there. I'm not sure. But you're going to fill out information on a couple of things you learned today. What were your takeaways from today? You're going to rate the training. How was this training for you? Was it too slow? Was I too fast? Was it boring? Did you think that I could have done things better? Give us some information on that as well. Obviously, if you think it went well, we obviously want some high grades on that to keep it going, and it helps me learn. Team, I'm going to give you one last piece of advice. I record all of my trainings. I've been doing this for so many years, but I record every one of them because then I listen to them and I say, oh, I don't want to say that anymore. Oh, I got to say that again, right? Think about that when you're on a call with your next customer. Record yourself, listen to yourself, and give yourself your own perspective on what you're doing now before you embark on this training program. And then at the end of the training program, record yourself again. And oh my God, you're going to be like, holy cow, what a difference. But you won't be able to tell unless you have a benchmark. So record yourself in the next couple of days dealing with a customer on the phone, and just save that in your phone for the next 8 weeks. And then at the end of 8 weeks, I want you to do it again and listen to both of them, see what you learn. All right, team. Any questions for me or Tom?
No, I think I'm good. At least for now.
I just followed the link. So go to the Academy, name, email, address. It's a simple form. At the end of every session, we ask you to fill it out. It's important for us to keep track of your progress, and it's important for you to keep track of your progress. Like Joe said, there's a reason they do before and after pictures before a weight loss journey. Same thing, only different.
Yep. Alexandra knows all about that. She probably talks to her clients about it all the time. Take a picture of yourself today. Take a picture of yourself in 3 weeks. Yeah. So, all right, guys. Listen,
Academy.
What's that?
Or is it lessons?
Lessons.
So it's, if you go back, it's the one where it says Academy. Click here to complete lessons learned. It's the second one down.
Okay.
team, I want to say one more
I was
thing.
just curious if it was that one or the one above it said lessons and then it said the same phrase underneath.
Yeah, they're I think they're almost the exact same form. I think one asks for if you have any referrals and the other one doesn't.
Okay.
One last thing I want to say to you guys. This was an intimate training today. And I've been, Todd and I have been training for so many years. And I have to tell you, when I get a small group like this, especially when you're from the same company, I bond with you guys like a lot. And I'm really excited to get you through this program to make more money and be successful. That's all we want, is to see you be, that's my hobby. When I train people and they come to me and they write me an email and say, Joe, I can't believe this little thing that you taught me helped me so much. I'm high for days on that. So, just remember that and know that you can call me, email me, anything. Joe, I just had a horrible call. Walk me off, get me off my cliff I'm about to jump off of right now, right? And I've had salespeople do that to me all the time. So just know that we're here for you. I have a little bond with you guys now, and I'm excited to see you be successful. So you will see me again on other trainings. You'll see Todd, you'll see Doug, and you might see Mark. So be open-minded, team, and just know that you're embarking on this unbelievable journey and you're going to make more money in very soon. So any other questions?
Thank you.
I want to be respectful of your time. It's 10:32. Have a great day, everyone. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
All right.
Bye.